I'm Liz Coley, and this is Undercover Reading. If you're wondering what all that cool stuff is behind me, that's my outer space collection. You can tell I'm a space nut. We're in the middle of reading The Captain's Kid. We are on Chapter 3, Part 2. It was Karthik's bright idea to insulate ourselves with layers and layers of clothing, so I considered it unfair when he moaned, "How did I let you talk me into this? I will die of heat prostration." His voice echoed in the narrow space where we were crunched, the gap between the tops of the freight containers and the rounded ceiling of the train capsule. "Trust me," I said for the third time, "it's the only way, and we'll cool down soon enough. It's dang cold in space. Even with the pressure seals, there has to be some heat leakage between here and the orbital platform." How did we get here? The moment I saw this freight carrier waiting to launch, I knew it was the best way, the only way. The compartment had already been filled and sealed, and the dock workers in overalls had moved on to the next train with their large blue bins. When they left the lift area for another load, Karthik and I hurried on silent feet to the freight loading doors of the packed train. It was a simple pulse lock requiring a sequence of matching frequencies, usually a triad if I guessed right. For once, luck was on my side. Gazing at me like an overstuffed penguin, Karthik's jaw dropped as I programmed the random number generator on my watchcom to emit random patterns in the usual range. In 20 seconds, the lock was matched and sprung. "Wizardry!" he exclaimed. "Just a little trick that's come in handy from time to time." "You make a habit of breaking and entering?" he hissed. "Well, okay, not a habit. 3 or 4 school pranks had depended on my ability to crack the school entry locks as fast as they changed the code, but that was all in fun. Maybe more. I didn't keep track. We faced a wall of densely stacked crates. "Up top," I suggested. "If there's any side-to-side slippage, we'll be flat-caked." Before the word flat-cake was out of my mouth, Karthik scrambled up and out of sight. "There's room for us to lie on our backs here," he called from above me. "It feels solid." "Okay, make room for me. I'm coming up." I pulled the hatch behind us, felt my way up in the dark, and slid next to Karthik. "I just wondered something," he asked tentatively. "What? What about oxygen?" I thought fast. "Well, we're surrounded by it now. These are huge compartments, and even inside the bins there's free air. So, hey, I'm sure there's enough." "That makes one of us," Karthik answered. "Wait, I'll work it out." For several minutes I was silent, calculating the free volume of the compartment, the air composition, our oxygen intake for the next 6 hours, and the excess, which turned out to be a very, very small number, but positive. "Yeah," I said with a confident tone, "more than enough." But Karthik had one more worry, which he voiced in the pitch dark. "Well, these accommodations are quite comfortable now. What happens when the train goes vertical at launch? We will be hurled to the bottom and become pulp, or perhaps—" "You've got a point," I interrupted before total panic set in. "So let's address this logically. We need to find a spot that's packed all the way to the ceiling and brace our feet there. That'll be our floor when we end up standing, and if the crates are tied down properly, they shouldn't shift and slide. I don't think. Yeah, we're good." "Okay, boss. And then we land at the other end on our heads." "No problem," I said, to borrow his favorite phrase. "The freight dock isn't under full gravity. We can adjust." An intake of breath next to me. "Problem, Brandon. Remember my issue with motion? It's worse with low gravity." "Please, K-Man, please try not to lose your breakfast in the train. I didn't figure that factor into our breathing requirements." "Right, boss." Karthik exhaled loudly. We inched around the tops of the freight bins till we found a secure perching spot for our feet. I checked my watchcom. "All secure with 10 minutes to spare," I announced with all the confidence I could fake. Suddenly, this didn't seem so genius. "Very well," Karthik acknowledged. "Then I have 10 minutes to teach you Shavasana." "What's that?" "The position of death." "Dang, Karthik, don't be such a pessimist. I thought we had that covered." He laughed in a tight way, somewhere between hearty and terrified. "My friend, it is a yoga meditation technique for separating mind and body. I think it will help both of us survive the next 6 hours. Your breathing and pulse will slow, conserving energy. Your body will become completely relaxed, and your mind, though alert, will wander its empty corridors." "Empty? Thank you very much, I said. Fine, teach me. So Karthik taught me through the process, correcting my lying position so my weight was totally balanced across all the places where my body touched the bins. In hypnotically slow and fluid voice, he coached me through yoga breathing. His words filled my ears in the darkness, and I sensed the breath cycling through my lungs and body with no effort at all, hardly disturbing the stillness of my chest. It was like being asleep, except close to the surface. I chased that thought away and tried to relax into total blankness. Somewhere beyond, mechanical noises rumbled, and from a great distance I felt the pressure build beneath my feet. A loud clank jerked me back, and I grabbed Karthik's hand in the dark. As the train began its journey, Karthik recited his hypnotic instructions again, until, with a slight squeeze, his fingers loosened from mine. He fell silent as my breathing took me away to another place. I arrived back in my body to a sudden blinding light and the sound of fluent cursing. Holy mother! I'll be a son of a! It's 2 kids, Harry! It must be them! For crying out loud, Harry! Help me get them popsicles out and over to infirmary! I blinked and squinted until I could see the edges of the open hatch. I tumbled out of the opening into the arms of a stunned dock worker. He stood me on my feet and grabbed my hands. They're hot, Sam, Harry muttered. His flippin' hands are hot! Can't be, it's 20 below in there, Sam argued. I'm telling you true, Sam. You calling me a liar? Karthik pitched forward out of the door. He breathed a puff of condensed vapor. Amazing ride. I never felt sick at all. But who are you? Harry demanded. Are you Brandon and Karthik? The ones we've all been a-searching for. Yes, sir, I said. And I'd better get to Captain Webb quick so he can kill me. He'll be furiously mad. Mad, blurted Sam. Mad with worry, most like. Your dad's had the whole platform and station below on full alert looking for the pair of you. And here you come up in a luggage bin. Karthik and I exchanged a guilty look. I stuck out a hand, Earth-style, and finger-tipped Sam's hand. I'm sorry for causing so much trouble. Could you please direct me to my father? He eyed Harry. You're right. 'Tis warm, and I'm sorry for doubting you. Now, boys, tell us, have you any luggage, or are you wearing all of it? Karthik climbed back into the freight compartment to rescue our duffels and my mandolute. Then off we marched to find Dad, my steps a little heavy in spite of the nice low .8 normal gravity. We located him in the officer's lounge, gazing out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the full earth. Cap'n, sir! Excuse me, sir, we found him in a luggage bin! Dad whirled in his chair with a hopeless, desperate expression that broke into incredulous joy. Tears squeezed out of my eyeballs as he grabbed me in a tight hug. Quick, contact the Ciravolo family and escort them here, he ordered. Aye, sir. Dad finally let me go and hugged a very embarrassed Karthik. What on earth happened to you boys? You can't believe how relieved I am to see you. His eyes raked over us. Even as silly as you look right now. What were you thinking? A dare? An idiot adventure? What? We stripped down to the inmost layer as I told Dad about the vanishing message, the vanishing clerk, the luggage lookup, the calm failure. Karthik shared his wild suspicions that there was something sinister behind the series of screw-ups. Dad's face grew more and more serious as he listened, absent-mindedly folding my clothes. Then the Ciravolos arrived and we had to tell the story all over again. Dad wrapped an arm around my shoulder and said apologetically, I have to get to the bridge now and get us back on track for launch. Of course, he had priorities. We'll still make our scheduled window thanks to your dangerous ingenuity. Kiddo, I'm going to be extremely busy for the next few hours. Then we will spend time together. His face drew down into his command mode. I ask all of you to keep this to yourselves. I believe Karthik's involvement was completely accidental and unforeseen. You boys will have to fend off embarrassing questions about missing the lift. You overslept? End of story. What? I began. I don't want the crew at large unduly alarmed, nor working the gossip mill. Anyhow, let's get you aboard at last, and get you something to eat. You must be starving. Once the idea of food was mentioned, both of us realized we were famished. So we worked our way back through the platform station to the boarding dock for the Reliable. A final security scan cleared us, and we were all logged aboard. As I took my first step into the actual starship, a sudden thought hit me hard. I wonder whether our mysterious enemy is back on Earth or aboard the ship. Karthik turned a huge pair of eyes toward me and shrugged. That's the end of that part. Please stay tuned for the next part of Chapter 3.